This is a SnapEd New York video presentation.
Hello everyone, my name is Wendy Beckman and I'm a registered dietitian with the New York State Office for the Aging and SnapEd New York. Thanks for joining me today on What's Cooking with NYSOFA. Today I'm going to be making herb stuffed mushrooms. This recipe is a great snack or hors d'oeuvre for a get-together. We're going to be posting the link to the recipe below, and the recipe can also be found on the SnapEd New York website at www.snapedny.org. Now before we get into the recipe, let's look at my plate. My plate is a graphic representation of what our plates should look like every time we sit down to eat. This recipe covers the fruits and vegetables section of my plate. You want to vary your veggies by adding different kinds of vegetables to your diet. This recipe has mushrooms and onions in it. Mushrooms are a good source of vitamin C, potassium, and some B vitamins. Onions are a good source of vitamin C, potassium, and folate. Mushrooms and onions also have some antioxidants in them. These compounds in fruits and vegetables can protect from certain diseases like heart disease and cancer. Remember that everything you eat and drink over time matters. You want to find your healthy eating style and maintain it for a lifetime. The right mix can help you be healthier now and in the future. So let's start making some herb stuffed mushrooms. Remember to wash your hands with soap for at least 20 seconds or use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer before you start cooking. This recipe makes 4 servings, and I've cut the recipe in half here. So the ingredients that you see are going to be cut in half, but I'm going to tell you what the recipe calls for. So you're going to need 8 large mushrooms. You need 4 cloves of garlic, minced or chopped very finely. You're going to need 3/4 cups of white onions. You need 3 teaspoons of olive oil. You need 1/2 teaspoon of dried parsley. You need 1/2 teaspoon of dried sage. You need 1/2 teaspoon of dried rosemary and 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme. I have ground thyme, but you can get the thyme leaves as well. If you want to use fresh herbs, that's fine, but I use dried. I just find them to be more convenient. You're also going to need 1/4 cup of whole wheat breadcrumbs that I have over here. You're going to need 1/4 cup of sun-dried tomatoes. Now, sun-dried tomatoes can be a little pricey, so you don't have to use them if you don't want to. You can just use regular fresh tomatoes and chop them up, or you can use something like a red bell pepper and chop it up, or you could use something like the roasted red peppers and chop those up instead of the sun-dried tomatoes. So it's up to you. You need to use 3/4 cups of canned and drained, no salt added chickpeas or garbanzo beans. You need a teaspoon of lemon juice and some cooking spray. Now the first thing you need to do is preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, you're going to clean the mushrooms. You can use a soft towel or a vegetable brush. I already cleaned these mushrooms. I found that they did need to use a brush or my hands, something to sort of brush them off a little bit of friction to get all the dirt off. They do tend to have the dirt sort of stick to them. So you want to make sure that you wash those very thoroughly with some scrubbing to get all of the dirt off of them. Now, next I'm going to remove the stems, and I'll show you how to do that with this knife. You want to make sure that you cut all the way around the outside of the stem. You want to make a little cup out of the mushrooms to make sure that you have some room for the stuffing in them. So let me show you how to do that now. You want to be careful with the knife. You don't want to push it in too far into the mushroom. You don't want to cut all the way through, but take your time and sort of cut all the way around the outside of the mushroom stem. Let's do that carefully here. And you want to make sure that you don't cut into your hand. So don't cut all the way through the mushroom, just a little bit to get that stem loosened up. Usually after you've done that, you can sort of twist it a little bit and it will come out. You may find that you need to put the knife into the stem a little bit further. There it goes. So if you twist it a little bit, then you have a little opening in your mushroom, and that's where the stuffing goes. You may find that you need to cut a little bit more on the inside of the mushroom to make the opening a little bit bigger. But there you can see that's what that happens with that mushroom to get that opened up. So we're going to make sure that you set aside the stems because you're going to chop them up and use them in the stuffing. So I'm going to get rid of these here. Set those aside. Now, while the oven is warming up, we're going to put the mushroom caps open side down in a baking dish. You're going to bake them for about 10 minutes. You want to make sure that you put them open side down because while they're cooking, the mushrooms will release some moisture that's inside of them. I made that mistake cooking them the other way, and then they had a little bit of moisture on the inside of them. So when you cook them for the first 10 minutes, that gets the mushroom caps ready for the stuffing. It makes them a little softer. They open up a little bit more. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for those mushrooms to cook, and I did cook some earlier, so let me give you an idea of what they look like once they've been cooked for 10 minutes. So let me get those out of the oven. So these are the cooked mushroom caps, and you can see they've gotten a little brown, and I'm going to set these aside for just a minute. Now, first thing we're going to do to make the stuffing is to saute the garlic and the onions in a pan with a teaspoon of olive oil. So we're going to get the olive oil, we're going to put that in there first, and then we're going to get our garlic and put that in there. You can hear that going already. Let it sizzle a little bit there, and then we're going to add in our onions. Okay. Now, while that is cooking, oh, that smells wonderful. We want to cook that for a couple of minutes, maybe a minute or two. You want it to heat through. You want to stir it regularly while it's on the heat. And you can heat the onions until they start to look a little bit more translucent or a little more see-through. They're going to soften up a bit as you cook them. So that smells really good. You will smell this all through your house if you make these stuffed mushrooms. Now you want to make sure that you cut up or chop up the onions and garlic into small pieces so that it incorporates into the rest of the stuffing nicely. I actually have a garlic mincer that I use. But if you wanted to use, so you don't want, if you wanted to not use the fresh garlic, you can use the garlic in a jar that's already minced. That's completely fine also. Also remember that the smaller that you chop the onions and garlic, the faster that they're going to cook. Now after this is cooked for about a minute or so, we are going to add in all of the herbs that go with the herb stuffed mushrooms. So let's start out with the parsley. I'm going to put that in first. And then we're going to add in the dried sage. Then we're going to add in the rosemary. There's a little bit stuck in there. Okay. And then we're going to add in the thyme. All right. So let's mix all of that together. And we're going to let that heat for about another minute or so. Let's make sure that it's all incorporated in there and that the herbs are all coating the onion and garlic mixture. That looks great. Okay, so we're going to let that sit for just a minute. We're going to turn down the heat just a little bit on my burner. Okay, so after that sits and heats for about a minute, we're going to need to process the mushroom stems and the chickpeas. Now you can mash the stems and the chickpeas together with a fork, or you can use something like a potato masher. I did do that. That does work. And then if you do it that way, your mixture is going to be a little bit chunkier, but you can also use a food processor or a blender. And I'm going to put everything into a food processor. I have it behind me. I'll get it just over here. So here's this one. I'm going to take the top off. See if I can get all of this stuff in here. Here we go. All right, so first we're going to add the chickpeas. There's a little bit of liquid in the chickpeas that is still in the bowl, but I drained most of it out. And then the mushrooms. And we're just going to pulse that We don't want it to be like a paste, but we're going to put it together so that it's all incorporated. So let me see if I can get this on here. There we go. I'm going to pulse this just a few times. All right, that looks pretty good. Like I said, I don't want it to be too mushy. So let's put that down and open this up, and then we can put this mixture into a large bowl. I have that behind me. So let's get the blade out of here. Be very careful if you're using a food processor. These blades are sharp. And let's take this mixture and put it into the bowl. And you can see here that it's not really paste-like. It's still got some chunks in it, but not quite as chunky as if you sort of mashed it with a fork. All right, that looks pretty good. Then we're going to take this mixture and put it in here, but we're going to turn the heat off, let it cool down just a minute. And we can put in the sun-dried tomatoes first. And then our breadcrumbs and the lemon juice. Let's do the lemon juice first. Add in a little bit more moisture there. And then we can add the breadcrumbs. So let's do that. All right. Now we have to incorporate all of this together. And if you find that you need to add a little bit more lemon juice, or you wanted to add a little bit of olive oil to this to make it have a little bit more moisture in it, you absolutely can do that. Now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add the onion and the garlic mixture with the herbs from the pan into the chickpea and mushroom mixture. So let's put that in there. I'm going to put that in this thing. All right. Let's mix that all together. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, and this is what is going to go into your mushroom caps. So you can use pretty much anything to put the stuffing into the mushroom caps. You can use a little scoop if you have one. You can use a regular spoon, but what I found is that just a regular tablespoon measuring spoon worked the best. It's almost the exact amount that you need. So let me get the mushroom caps that I cooked previously. Those are over here. And we need to flip them over. So they can be a little hot after you get them out of the oven if you haven't had them cool very often. So just be careful. The pan and the mushrooms are going to be hot. So you want to use something like a fork or a spatula to flip them over. So let's do that. Let's flip each one of those mushrooms over. All right, and now you can see the inside of them. They've gotten a little brown on the inside. That looks good. Okay, so you're going to put the stuffing into the mushroom caps, and you can put them in a different baking dish. Use the same baking dish. You may want to spray your pan, like I said before, with either cooking spray or a little bit of olive oil. So let's see what this looks like. Let's take that. We're going to put that into the tablespoon right here. Put it right into the mushroom. Is it going to come out for me? Probably not. All right. So that's what that looks like. All right, there we go. Let me pick one of these up. That might be a little easier to see. I'm going to put that, there we go, put the stuffing right into the mushroom cap. Put it back down into the dish. There we go. And sometimes it needs a little help getting out of the spoon here. There we go. And I did find that with this recipe, you can see I have plenty of stuffing. So usually you can make more than 8 mushroom caps, I think, with this recipe, because there's plenty of stuff to put into the mushrooms. So that looks pretty good. And then the last thing you're going to do is put the mushroom caps back into the 375-degree oven for about 15 to 18 minutes, or until the stuffing is golden brown. Now let me show you some stuffed mushrooms that I made earlier. They're in the oven. Let me get those in there. All right, so that is the finished product, and they smell really great, and I can't wait to try them. Now, I hope that this recipe gave you some more ideas on how to incorporate more vegetables into your eating pattern. Don't forget to join me next month when I share more tips on how to save time, save money, and eat healthy. In June, I'm going to be making zucchini and tomatoes, which is a great side dish to add more veggies to your plate. Join me on Friday, June 23rd at 12:30 p.m. right here on the New York State Office for the Aging Facebook page and the New York State Office for the Aging YouTube channel. This presentation was funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. This institution is an equal opportunity provider. Have a great day, everyone, and stay safe out there.
Thank you for joining us today. We know the healthy choice isn't always the easiest choice, but small changes can make a big difference. Start today by getting involved with SNAP-Ed New York. This program is free for those who qualify or receive SNAP benefits. We want to help you save time, save money, and eat healthy. Learn how SNAP-Ed can make a difference in your life. For more information and to find your local program, visit snapedny.org. This material is funded by USDA's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. SNAP. This institution is an equal opportunity provider.
Hi, I'm registered dietitian Wendy Beckman, host of What's Cooking with NYSOFA. Over the past 2 years, I've had the opportunity to share healthy, nutritious recipes with you on the show. I work for the New York State Office for the Aging, and thanks to a partnership with SNAP-Ed New York, our nutrition team reaches hundreds of thousands of older New Yorkers each year. So why a cooking program? 60% of health costs and related issues have nothing to do with health, but instead have to do with individual behaviors like our food choices and physical activity. The recipes we feature are nutritionally appropriate for older adults, meeting critical nutrition requirements for healthy aging. What I bet you don't know is that this show is only part of a larger effort. To help me explain what our nutrition team at the New York State Office for the Aging does and what a registered dietitian is, here is registered dietitian Lisbeth Irish.
A registered dietitian is a professional who has training and education in food and nutrition. To become an RD, you must complete certain requirements, including a minimum of a bachelor's degree from an institution that's accredited by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. You must also pass a national examination and meet continuing education requirements. What does that mean? As RDs, we are qualified to offer accurate advice about nutrition, and we can help answer your questions about how diet can affect your health. At NYSOFA, the registered dietitians handle many tasks. This includes hosting 2 online programs aimed at helping older New Yorkers make better nutrition choices. These programs are What's Cooking with NYSOFA, which is our monthly cooking demonstration, and a Facebook Live program that I host called Ask the Experts, Nutrition Edition. In the months ahead, be on your lookout for it. We'll be sharing your questions and our experts' answers about nutrition and health. New episodes of Ask the Experts Nutrition Edition debut the second Friday of each month on Facebook and YouTube.
As Lisbeth explained, registered dietitians at NYSOFA handle many tasks, including food safety at congregate meal sites, educational materials, and outreach. In the meantime, please don't miss an episode of either show produced by our team, What's Cooking with NYSOFA and Ask the Experts Nutrition Edition. Every episode is uploaded to YouTube, and you'll find the archived shows there.
Do you have a question about foods? Or do you have a particular health issue that you'd like to improve by changing your diet? Tune in to Ask the Experts Nutrition Edition every second Friday at 1 p.m. We'd love to hear from you.
Remember, registered dietitians are the experts in nutrition. Visit for more sound advice about eating healthy on a budget.